everybody. I'm Cheryl Casoni. Joining me for the hour, James Frischling. He is co-founder and president of NewOak Capital. And here with us to analyze these anemic job numbers is Tig Gilliam. He is the CEO of the temporary hiring firm Adecco, and he has got some great insight on these numbers as well. Also, I want to bring James Frischling in this. Again, we are watching this market sell off, and now we're down 260. We're below 10,000 now. James, does this make you nervous at all, or do you think this is going to be par for the course for the summer in a volatile market?
I mean, heading into the end of the week, I think there was so much emphasis and focus on the jobs number that unfortunately it became a one-number trading day. And when the number was disappointing, particularly obviously in the private sector, this is the reaction you're getting. And let's not forget, there's really no good news out there across the board. So right now, people are fixated that the U.S. Recovery is maybe a little less than what the expectations had been coming into the end of the week. And I think you're seeing the reaction today.
Tig Gilliam, you are the CEO of Adecco North America. I mean, jobs is your business. This is how you operate. Is the number as bad as we make it out to be, as the markets are making it out to be right now?
From my point of view, there's always a little too much reaction to the jobs report. The only number that mattered from a headline this month was the private sector number. It was weaker than it could have been.
The ADP number you're talking about?
No, the private sector number, 41,000 jobs gained in the private sector in May from BLS. It was weaker than it's been in the last 2 months, primarily because we lost 35,000 construction jobs. We gained construction jobs in the last 2 months, and we only had 8,000 new jobs in healthcare, where we had been averaging 20,000 jobs in healthcare per month throughout the recession. So clearly the private sector number is not as high as it could have been, but other underlying indicators do suggest the trend is continuing to improve. We got an increase in the average work week. For all those people who are working part-time, that means they're getting more hours. That's a prerequisite before companies are going to hire on a permanent basis again. And we also saw continued growth in the temporary and contract worker space, which is our business.
You know, so it sounds to me, I mean, well, you are saying basically that take a different look, take a different attack at private sector employment. I mean, do you think that we're going to see, so next is up is June. Do you think we're going to see a better number for June? I mean, it's summer.
Yeah, I think the private sector number, if I look at the work week and I look at what's happening in the temporary employment number, both of those still suggest that the private sector number is going to come along. It's not as strong as it was 2 months ago, but it's still doing better than it did in January and February.
But James, you have to go back again to to the census workers, which basically erases what could have been. I mean, the unemployment rate is lower, but people are walking away from the job hunt. I mean, if that trend continues throughout the summer, I'm going to take the summer off, for example. Forget it. I'm out.
And if they're having a hard time getting work, they're certainly not going to be spending more. Right. And our companies, are the earnings of the second half of the year going to be as had been predicted or meeting those expectations? So I think there's a little bit of a domino effect here. I agree with Tig. I don't think this number should be deemed to be a crisis number by any means. I do think it was very disappointing because of all the buildup, and I think that's the reaction.
Well, you know, Nicole, still as we're watching this market sell off right now,
and be there now.
I go back to James on this one, that this could be just a summer of extreme volatility. Low volume, but heavy volatility.
I think we are going to see quite a bit of volatility. And again, very difficult for a glass half full investor to get behind this market today with all the news that's coming out.
Tig, I know that this, again, the jobs is your specialty. Where do you see hiring in the next three months or 6 months?
Look, I think we got to be very careful about reacting to what's going to happen over the next few months, because all those census workers are going to go away as their assignments complete over the next 6 months. Those people who stepped out this month and lowered the unemployment rate, they're going to come back in a couple months, and the unemployment rate's going to go up. The underlying job situation is improving. It is going to take years to put back the 8 million jobs we lost, and we got to be prepared for that. Otherwise, we're going to misset expectations every month.
What if, real quick, last word to you though, Tig, I mean, what if the government, because of the deficit situation, starts to pull back on spending? They pull back that stimulus money, so you don't see the government job creation that we had seen in the first 6 months.
This is a great point. This is a great point. Even in the strong government numbers that we saw in today's report, state and local governments declined. They're pressed. They have no money left to spend. They're going to be cutting jobs. We're going to have to see private sector employers growing at a rate that offsets the declines that are going to take place on the government side.
Tig, you're a great voice on this, and thank you so much for joining us for the show today. Great day to have you here. North America CEO of Adecco. Nicole, Phil, thanks to both of you. Going to let you go. Thank you, President. Jeff, I want you to stay with me here because, you know, Adam, it's going to be interesting to see if the president, I heard a criticism on talk radio this morning of the president saying basically, why is he going to the Gulf again unless he's actually going to start cleaning up the beaches himself? What can this president actually do down there besides another photo opportunity?
Well, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think Jeff had actually reported earlier that the president was going to meet with people.
He did,
you know, which is far
but
more important.
Shake some hands, okay.
Yeah,
you know.
But you know, at this point, you know, what can the president do? Again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. He's got to go, but if he doesn't go, then he gets criticism. I mean, the criticism right now, after listening to the BP investor call, some of the things that Tony Hayward had to say, it was kind of like, you got to question, does the guy get it? And it seems as if, you know, the wire stories might have missed this, but BP said it very clearly, and we played the soundbite in our last hour, and I hope we can play it again. They're creating a whole new company to deal with the cleanup issues. And my question is, well, does this pave the way to maybe separate BP and the liability issues down the road, maybe dump it into this company and drill issues go with BP?
James, from a financial perspective, does that make any difference to you at all as you look at the worth of BP or lack of at this point after the market cap's been decimated?
I mean, we've seen a number of companies try to do the good bank, bad bank, good monoline, bad monoline, and a number of things in that capacity. At the end of the day, I think certainly either they'll own up and fund all the I guess the cleanup, or they'll face a myriad of lawsuits to the holdco, to the parent co.
Well, Jeff, last word. I mean, you know, the president's on his way, as you mentioned. He is in the air. What kind of reception do you think he'll get? What are they saying there?
Well, you know, it's not going to be as bad as Tony Hayward. I'll tell you, you know, Adam reported this morning the line from Tony Hayward about, you know, creating the new company. On local radio, the spin was, yeah, so he can get his life back and run the other part of BP and, you know, pawn this off on somebody else. And I'll tell you, they've taken to calling him on local radio here Chemical Tony, which I take as a reference to Chemical Ali, not exactly a term of endearment here in New Orleans.
Oh, my. I hope Tony Hayward's got some serious security at this point in his life. Jeff Flock, thank you very much. Oh, my gosh. We'll see you just a little bit, actually, Jeff.